from Montreal, Canada. Welcome to the GCN Show.
Welcome to the GCN Show.
Coming up this week, how do you make cycling cheaper and more affordable?
Well, isn't that the $1 million question, eh?
But,
we've also got denim cycling shorts, motorists feeling threatened, and the latest descending masterclass from Tom Pidcock.
Where'd you get jokes like that from? That's brilliant.
That was good, wasn't it? This week in the world of cycling, we learned just how many horsepower a pro cyclist can produce, and it's more than one.
It is. This is Strada Bianca winner Demi Vollering and a stray horse called Zlatanya who got onto the course of Strada Bianca. Vollering went on to win, and the horse, thankfully, was okay, albeit a little bit distressed after the incident.
Although it was not the worst case of a pro cyclist harming animals last week. Trek Segafredo pro Antonio Tiberi really took the biscuit last week by accidentally killing the mayor of San Marino's cat with an air rifle.
Bizarre, but true. We also learned, or at least had confirmation, that Tom Pidcock is on another level when it comes to descending.
That was such an impressive ride in all respects, wasn't it?
Wasn't it just? Now, finally, we learned that what's going on in the background of an interview can be as interesting as the video itself.
Me, I thought, no, he can't hold on for that long. But to just do it and to like commit to it today, yeah, incredible.
Yes, that is world gravel champion Gianni Vermeersch there of Alpecin-de-Koning. Making a few friends, I think we could say, in the pro peloton.
To be fair to him, he was probably just tired, wasn't he? He's never had to ride that many gravel roads in one go before. As
We'll continue that joke on for a long, long time, won't we?
We will, yeah.
Now, following on from last week's GCN show, where we were having a moan about lots of different things, weren't
Stuff.
we? Including the increased costs of cycling, we thought that we would have a think about how to make riding and cycling a little bit less expensive and more affordable.
That's right. So the main the main cost is, of course, bikes and equipment. So the first thing we would say is to try to be smart about the purchases you make.
Yeah, exactly. Like with your socks.
What?
Socks. I mean, cycling socks, specific ones, are very expensive. So just use normal socks in the winter because nobody's going to notice them, are they, underneath your shoes and your tights? Alternatively, you could head to the dark side and just become a triathlete. Then you wouldn't need to spend any money whatsoever, even on cheap non-cycling socks.
Well, that truly is a great money-saving tip. Thanks, Dan.
More to come.
Let's move on to hack or bodge. No, I take your point, okay, because there are places where you can save money that won't affect your performance, your comfort, or, importantly for some, the aesthetic enjoyment of cycling as well. So unlike socks, cassettes and chains would be my example, yeah.
Well, as we both know, Si, cassettes can be a very good long-term investment, can't we? Well, at least we're hoping to find that out soon when we sell it.
I mean, the definition of a poor investment. But anyway, no, I didn't mean that either. I mean, like, an Ultegra cassette is double the price of 105, but you save just 16 grams in weight. Like your socks in winter, you also can't really see the difference, and the shift architecture on cassettes is the same. So the smart money is on a 105 cassette.
Well, that is a good point. A lot of pro teams actually used to run Ultegra cassettes to save money, did you know?
Yeah.
And you can apply the same logic, in fact, to other components, such as chains, as you've already mentioned, but also derailleurs, handlebars, saddles, etc., etc. The weight differences between them can be really marginal.
Yeah, and it would free up money to focus on getting actual performance gains where you can. So like optimizing your body position on your bike, or perhaps the biggest bang for your buck, in terms of bicycle equipment anyway, inner tubes and tyres.
Such a fascinating subject, isn't it? Anyway, there are plenty of bike bits where you can save money by buying second-hand, of course. Not something that you would necessarily want to do with things like inner tubes, perhaps, but frames, wheels, clothing, they're all great to buy used, aren't they?
Shorts and socks?
Maybe not shorts and socks, but
no.
That said, if anyone's interested out there, I do have some to sell.
What, socks or shorts?
Shorts and socks, both. But no, go careful when you're buying stuff like carbon second-hand, of course. You don't know what's happened to it over the years.
You don't,
but you
no.
can find some genuine bargains if you look carefully.
Genuine bargains with structural integrity,
yes,
still.
crucially.
Yeah. Now, the latest and greatest tech still commands a premium, even secondhand, doesn't it? But if you're simply looking for an upgrade, it might be that you can find an upgrade by going cheap.
Exactly. Also, make sure that you look after what you've already got. So keep your bike clean and stay on top of the general maintenance jobs.
Yeah, learn how to do stuff yourself rather than relying on a bike shop as well. Maybe not all the jobs, but certainly the basics.
Yeah, and tools as well is another thing that can be expensive to buy. It's not just the components for the bike. But then if you're riding a lot with mates, surely you can share tools because you're unlikely to need that chain whip and cassette tool on the same day as your mates do.
That's right, yeah. Men's stuff as well. I fix my old inner tubes or I fix my tyres when I'm running tubeless. And actually, you know when our GCN kit was made by ASOS a few years ago, I took 2 pairs of our overshoes back to the factory when I was out there filming and they repaired them for me and they did such a neat job. It was amazing. And you don't need to be a professional seamster either. We see time and again in Hack or Bodge. You lot fix stuff like overshoes too.
I was going to say, not many people can head back to ASOS or the manufacturer to get things fixed, can they? But
no, that's not cheap, going to Switzerland to get your overshoes repaired.
No, but as Si did mention, a lot of you at home with Hack and Bodge, you send your own men's of cycling clothing, don't you?
Sometimes with zip ties. But we'll skip over that.
Yeah.
Right, next up, and this one is a big one, perhaps the biggest of all, and that is just enjoy what you've got and try not to have FOMO, fear of missing out on what you haven't got. It's all too easy to move your eye continually up the price scale and think that you're getting subpar equipment if you take the budget option. But that's not necessarily the case.
No, it's not. Was the FOMO explanation for me, in case I didn't have the lingo of kids. No, it's not the case. As we pointed out many times, the mid-range or even the budget options now are far superior to the top-of-the-range bikes and components of yesteryear, even just 10 years ago.
Yeah, and as I said, this one is really, really hard. Even in our incredibly privileged positions, I still sometimes think, I need to upgrade that, or I need this, or I need that. But unless you're racing time trials, essentially, where equipment is everything, you don't need to.
No, although Ollie will not agree with this. Anyway, finally, for the ultimate money-saving hack, train really hard and then turn pro. Because everything's free for you then, including your shades.
Oh dear. New pair of those needed.
Ooh, that's horrible, isn't it? I mean, even if you do get your eyewear for free, that's got to hurt you, hasn't it?
Yeah,
just the noise and the crunch that made.
Oh my God,
enough to make you wince.
Second only to the noise of breaking carbon. You know when you're riding along in a peloton and there's a crash, hopefully behind you, and you just hear that noise of like metal on tarmac and then crunching of carbon.
Well, Tom Sutherland and I, on the World of Cycling recently, both said that we actually used to quite enjoy that sound because it meant you'd made the front split. If there's a crash just behind you. Oh, we're in a group of 30 off the front now.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's an exhilarating noise. But yeah. Just an aside, by the way, that World of Cycling show, if you're on GCN Plus, you should definitely go back and look at it. Tom was telling me that on the way home from filming, he remembered an incident where he got hit by a race motorbike in a race that we were doing in Brittany. And back then, to illustrate the point that no one knew about stuff like that, he just got a spare bike and got back on again. And it was only people in our team that ever knew that he got hit by a race motorbike. Anyway, it'd be all over Twitter now, wouldn't it?
It would be, that would go viral.
It would, wouldn't it? Anyway, that's something you're never going to see because it won't make the cut. Right, lastly, I think it's worth talking about how you can actually use your bike in order to save you more money. We've talked many times before, haven't we, about how much you can save by riding instead of driving. But seriously, do it when you can. I reckon I save about 500 quid a year on train tickets alone to get me to and from work.
I might start riding my bike more to commute to save being called a prick. Anyway, those are a few of our suggestions, but if there's one thing that we know about long-term cyclists, it's that you are amongst the world's best when it comes to being tight and saving money. So over to you at home. What are the best money-saving hacks or even bodges to save money on this sport?
That's right. Let us know in the comment section down below.
I bet there's going to be some brilliant tips and tricks.
I think so. Like, we know it's not going to help you afford a brand new aero race bike, but ultimately, if you're in this sport because you love riding, then actually riding a brand new aero race bike doesn't actually matter that much, does it?
It doesn't.
No.
Now, just before we move on this week's GCN show, every week we talk about GCN Plus, don't we? Which enables you to watch a ton of live racing and give you access to an epic and exclusive archive of bike films and documentaries for only £39.99 or $49.99 US a month. But we've got to say that of all the things in cycling, that does feel like a good deal, like genuinely, doesn't it?
It does, actually. And yeah, we're totally and utterly biased because we work here. But I think even stepping back, like, that's a lot. That is a lot.
Killian Kelly worked out a few weeks ago that if you added up all the racing that was available, and of course there are territory restrictions for some people, but if you could watch all of it, it would add up to over 4 hours on average every single day of the year. It's a lot, isn't it?
That is a lot.
So
Crikey.
next week we'll work out how much the cost is per hour or minute.
Right, we should
Not
give that to
very
Killian
much.
today. Now, an annual subscription, is the most cost-effective way to go. And it has been pointed out to us that that is the price of an inner tube.
Standard.
A standard butyl inner tube each month, which of course you shouldn't need and you can fix most of the time anyway, but still, it is a point, isn't it?
And actually now is the perfect time to take the plunge to GCN Plus if you haven't done so already, because Tirreno Adriatico started yesterday and it's available in all GCN Plus territories, and it's got quite the start list, hasn't it? Van Aert, Roglic make their debuts on the road this year. Van der Poel's there, Pidcock, Mas, Alaphilippe, Landa, Hindley, Ganna, Jakobsen, Philipsen, Cavendish, and many, many more. So it's about time you cross the line if you haven't done so already.
Yeah, to be fair, and like I say, we are biased, right? But still, we can't go on about saving loads of money in cycling and then not address the elephant in the room, which is we're constantly saying, just seriously sign up to GCN Plus. But that is good, isn't it?
Yeah. Hack /Bodge of the week now, and the first one comes in from Fatima. Saddle covering for Zwift. I wanted to do a 90-minute ride on Zwift, and in order to prevent soreness, I covered my saddle with spare shorts, padded side up, and it worked a treat.
No way. Well, I'm surprised, but glad to hear that it worked a treat. I've always sort of thought putting too much padding on your saddle kind of like is a recipe for disaster.
Maybe,
but fair play. If
maybe
it's worked.
Fatima was naked. Well, because you wouldn't want your chamois and then another chamois on the saddle, surely.
Well, I mean, you probably would get sore if you were
Doubling
Zwifting
up.
naked. But yeah, so in that
Not with
case,
that though.
no. Well, I don't quite know where to go with this.
What I'm doing, I'm saying bodge if you had cycling shorts on still, hack if you were naked.
But they've said that it works.
Yes, but they didn't say what clothing they did or didn't have on.
Irrespective of how much clothing they had, if it works, you got to say that's a hack.
Maybe, okay. Well,
I'm saying that's a hack.
I'm resting on the fence depending on other clothing, but most people thought that was a bodge size, 65% to be precise.
Right, I need to get mental imagery of people riding turbo trainers naked out of my head now. Moving on to this one from Verandalak, a Lego Wahoo Kicker Steer. Made by my son after learning about the latest Wahoo RGT update. It simply latches over the bars, rests on the computer mount, and locks against the stem.
Crikey.
Oh my word, your son is a very talented Legoer, I think it's fair to say. Look at that.
That's very cool.
That is cool, isn't it?
I was a massive fan of Lego as a kid.
Well, I mean, I still am, but my one thing, though, okay, is that, like, so if my kids come to like an amazing Lego model, agonisingly, heartbreakingly, every time it disintegrates in their hands just as I'm about to admire it. So what I'm hoping is that your amazing computer mount here, when you don't start, getting up to zone 4, disintegrates in your sweaty fingers.
Let us know if it's still together. I do that awful dad thing because I do buy my kids Lego because I like it. And then before 5 minutes, I'm like, pass it over here, you're not doing it properly. Anyway, that's a hack from me as a fan of Lego.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a hack from me as well.
Well, good job you went with hack because that's what 87% of
Whoa.
voters went with.
Nice.
Bundy Jack, cockpit inspiration, yes or no? My partner and I disagree over my custom graphic. I obviously like it, my partner not so much. The rider is me, racing against all the reasons I don't get out on the bike. Old, overweight, work stress, family obligations, and the Red Wolf is just me being me. I'm sure all this has got to do with the handlebars, but I'll carry on. Happily, I can report that I've already lost 10 kilograms. Well done, that's very good to hear. I look down at my bars when I'm feeling rubbish and find the reason to do more Ks or push harder. So please tell me yes or no, hack or bodge. Thank you very much.
Hack. Like,
I've just zoomed in. That does look cool, doesn't it?
it looks really cool. If you create that and it gives you inspiration,
Yeah.
then why on earth not? I think that's mint.
Yeah, anything that's going to allow you to continue along your path of goals is a hack from me.
Also, it's been bugging me. I can't work out what your handlebars are. Yeah, I think, and I love the paint job. That's mint. But I'm looking at them going, they look like a nice shape. But what are they?
Let us know.
If you could let us know what your cockpit is, who makes it. In fact, it would be a whole bike, wouldn't it? So it looks like a gravelly bike.
How do you know that?
Because they've got a gravel tyre on.
Ah.
What is it? I can see part of the head badge. Oh, that's going to kill me.
Anyway, moving on, Si. I will move on whilst you try and figure out what the bike is. Specialised rider. My wife and I Zwift together, and I was looking for a better solution than for both of us to ride the same ride and stay together. Yes, I know there is an option to do that. We sometimes like different routes. The Connect Multiviewer with 2 Apple TVs and a 65-inch flat screen in the grandkids' playroom works out well. The resolution is a little squished, but works perfectly.
Is it a Willia?
Oh,
is it a Willia Rave?
Have you listened to a word I said?
No, I haven't. Okay, right. Now, what were you chatting about? No, that looks good. That does look good.
It does, yeah. 2 Zwift screens essentially on the same screen. So I think that is a hack from me.
Yeah, no, I'll give that a hack as well.
Fairly unanimous, actually. 90% of you deeming that last one a hack.
I tell you what, if you squished you up, Dan, made you like
even skinnier.
Yeah, you would look like literally like a beanpole, wouldn't you? And actually, the nice thing about this is it would make my ankles look okay, wouldn't it?
If you squished me up like that, there's no way I'd look 130 centimetres towards you.
All right, there we go then. That was the end of Hack or Bodge for this week. Thank you, as always, for submitting your hacks and bodges. If you want to take part, you can, of course, upload them to the GCN app, where there's also loads of other hacks and bodges for you to vote on as well.
And now it's time for cycling shorts.
Still can't work it out. Still can't work out what copy that is. But anyway, cycling shorts now, and we will start with a story about cycling shorts.
You are such a loser.
It's the simple things.
He loves it.
The simple things in life, Dan. Right, but this is a good one actually. Team AG Desert Citroën have long been infamous, I think we could say, for their brown team shorts, which they've been riding in for so long, they've actually become cool. But anyway, they've now abandoned their newly cool shorts in favour of denim or bib jeans.
And not denim effect lycra like the Team Carrera kit from the early 1990s.
Nope.
These are patented yarn technology from their team sponsor, apparently.
That's right. It's not your typical performance fabric. But as you may know, I am a fan of wearing a pair of Daisy Dukes myself, so I will be up for trying them, for sure. And now next, this story is very loosely linked to the discovery last week that Dan is a prick.
What? We didn't find that out last week, Si. Last week I just got called a prick, if you remember.
Sorry, my mistake, mate. Last week, Dan, driving his car, got called a prick by a passing cyclist who must have recognised him.
He's laughing at his own jokes again.
Anyway, we went on to discuss that even if Dan deserved it, and it seems like the majority of you lot felt that he did.
What are you talking about? What comments were you reading?
Well,
there wasn't a majority that felt like I did.
There was one very well-worded comment. Anyway, from a guy called Simon Richards, actually I noticed. Anyway, we went on to discuss that even if the statistics don't indicate an increase in risk in the roads, we, all of us, are getting more aggressive.
That is correct. So much so, in fact, that a recent survey, which was conducted right here in the UK, found that among respondents of IAM Road Smart members, so slight bias warning, alarm bells going off right now, 59% felt that their personal safety whilst driving was under threat from aggressive cyclists.
Yeah. Now, given that the respondents were likely to be cocooned in a metal box, that's quite alarming, not because we think it's true, because we don't, but because that's the perception, and that does mean, I think, that we've got a little bit of a problem.
A bit of an angry problem,
yeah,
really, haven't we? I think it's worth thinking about what kind of response your reaction is going to provoke. I was thinking about this last week. Is swearing at someone going to modify their behaviour? Are they going to drive more carefully if you swear at them? I don't think so, because anger fuels anger, doesn't it?
It does, typically, doesn't it? But cue angry responses in the comments section down below as you disagree with this, which is absolutely fine to do so, but I do think it's worth having this conversation amongst ourselves.
Yep.
Because otherwise, if everyone gets more angry, cyclists can't actually hurt car drivers, really, as we've already said. If you're in a metal box, but if car drivers get angry, then they obviously
No, all you can do is throw their keys in the river. That's the only thing you've got.
Moving swiftly on. Right, yes, queue angry responses. Speaking of queues, see what I did there? Yeah,
on fire today.
Thanks, mate. Shimano made a really interesting announcement last week. Genuinely, they are launching a new classification of group set, a new group set family, in fact, that they're calling queues.
Ah, now I see what you did there.
Yeah, there we go.
At the moment, there is no drop bar option, but it basically consolidates mountain bike, city and road into cross-compatible 9, 10 and 11 speed group sets, which is great because it makes it all cross-compatible, doesn't it?
That's right. A bigger win, though, is that the new group sets feature Shimano's Link Glide technology, okay? So that's different to the usual super smooth Hyperglide technology, or Hyperglide Plus even we've got to now, which is found on the top end group sets. So in use, we gather that you might sacrifice a tiny bit of shifting smoothness, but you gain 3 times over in durability.
Which could save you money in the long run, which is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, friend of the channel, Matthew Rittenhouse in Hawaii, who's helped to create a bill in his home state, which aims to provide funds for young people to buy e-bikes and bikes to get to school, has just sent us here at GCN Studios some Girl Scout cookies.
Oh yes, now many people here at GCN HQ...
I'm going to do a lot of reaching down today.
Yeah, I am, aren't I? Yeah, hopefully that's the end of it. I'll put my back out. Anyway, a lot of people at GCN HQ, sorry mate, didn't realise that Girl Scout cookies are actually a thing, but here they are, look. These are the do-si-dos, or do-si-dos. Anyway, so huge thank you to Matthew and his daughter Zelda, who is the Girl Scout. She's in Scout Troop 287, we hear. Scout Troop 287 are raising funds for their local community, including, and this is super cool, right? They're going to be painting the inside of a local tunnel, which is a bike path and a walkway, and they're going to make it super bright and a lovely place to be, as opposed to a dank underpass. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you to Zelda. And you'll be pleased to know that we got at them before Connor did.
That's right, yeah.
Connor's been jealous of my thin mints.
Yeah, well, and we've been spreading the love amongst the GCN crew that you don't normally get to see as well. So we have had a party. Right, yeah, we've saved some for Connor as well, haven't we?
One.
Yeah,
You can have one.
You can have one. Right. Now, just before we finish Cycling Shorts, we can now reveal the latest special guest, can't we, Dan? Confirmed to be attending the Global Bike Festival this June.
Hello everyone, this is Mark Beaumont and I'm filming this in a theatre. I'm at an event on my UK Talk Tour near Manchester. There's the stage, there's the bikes. This will soon have 300 people in it, enjoying some adventures, some stories of cycling around the world and lots else. On GCN, you might have seen some of my documentaries, including Africa Solo, Cairo to Cape Town, 10,000 kilometers. Lots of adventures with Hank, including penny farthing racing, the world's longest descent down a volcano in Chile, and lots else. I'm looking forward to joining the team over at Global Bike Festival in June in Austria. If you've not got your tickets yet, hope to see you then. There's going to be live events talking about adventure. There's going to be lots of bike riding, of course, where we can get out on the trails, the tracks, gravel road, and lots more. And yeah, hopefully we can catch up then. So follow the links and get your ticket.
What?
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Although whilst it's great that Mark is attending, we would not necessarily recommend going out riding with him, would we?
Although you would save money if you do, wouldn't you? Because you wouldn't need any accommodation.
Yes, his rides are that long. Yes.
Now, in all seriousness, Mark is not only a super accomplished cyclist, but also a thoroughly entertaining speaker. So we're very pleased to have him on board in that capacity, but also he's just a blooming nice bloke to hang out with as well.
He is, Mark Beaumont, isn't he? Next up, if you're into your cycling books, we would like to hear from you. So in the description just below this video, you'll find a link to a survey that will only take you 10 minutes to complete. And if you do so, you will be putting yourself in with a chance of getting your hands on £300 worth of Amazon vouchers.
You could buy a Euro bike for that, nearly.
Yeah, they've got a new gravel one, haven't they?
They've got a new gravel
the other
bike.
day.
Yeah, my finger was hovering over the buy now, get it delivered to your house in 2 hours time kind of button. But anyway, you've got until the 20th of March to do so, haven't you? So that's
survey, yeah.
just after Milano San Remo.
Yep.
I'd suggest that maybe you do it sometime before the races hit the Cipressa.
Yeah. Talking about La Primavera, you may have noticed I am sporting another t-shirt that Sire hasn't got, which is dedicated to that very race. The first true monument of the season. I've got the entire Classics collection covered, or at least I have, but it's also over at shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com. So you can also find La Doyenne, de Ronda, etc., over there.
I'm genuinely annoyed. Why are they sending you all these really nice t-shirts and not me?
They just sent me them in one fell swoop in a package. It just must not have arrived yet. Maybe you're not an Amazon Prime subscriber.
Wow.
No, it was a colleague who kindly brought them along for me.
Really? It's time now for Caption Competition, that part of the show where you get a chance to get your hands on a coveted GCN Elite water bottle. All you got to do is put a witty caption in the comment section down below that relates to a photo. We will give you just 1 second after the results from the last week.
This was last week's photo of Tish Benoit having won Kuurne Brussels Kuurne. We've got an honourable mention actually this week. No prize, unfortunately, but the mention goes to Erhan Hanchurlu. I don't know how to pronounce that surname, even though I just looked it up. He said, Tish Benoit, I hope my photo doesn't end up in the GCN show with some smart ass caption. I can't even read out the captions properly, but yes, very good.
That would have been very funny if Dan didn't mangle it.
It wasn't me reading it out. Hopefully I'll do a bit better with the actual winner, who is Ryan W. Evidence that cycling still hasn't learned from Sagan's podium behaviour.
Ooh. How many years are we going back? 8?
10.
2013.
Years.
Was it?
Yes. So for those of you who have no idea what we or Ryan are talking about, it relates to, well, sort of this picture. We couldn't find the actual one from the podium of the Tour of Flanders 10 years ago. Where Peter Sagan effectively pinched at the bottom of a lady that was on the podium.
Yes. I mean, yes. The less said about it, the better, really.
Yes.
Sagan, not his finest hour. We have fortunately moved on since then, and hopefully...
Yeah. But very good caption, nonetheless.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. Right then.
Oh, don't forget, get in touch with a message on Facebook with your address. We'll get a bottle sent out to you.
Yeah, okay. Next up, it is the photo that you've got to get your teeth stuck into. Yep. Right then.
From a cold Paris-Nice. Right, I will get you started. Jan Tratnik comes out of off-season training looking buff.
That's good, mate.
Yes.
Do you think we need to explain buff?
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, if I know what buff means. Or you're talking about the actual cycling buff
The
context.
product. Oh. That like neck warmer thing. It's made by a brand called Buff, just in case you didn't know.
Okay. And you do know what the other buff is, do you?
Well, I've seen it. I wouldn't say I am it.
No. Anyway, before we ramble on too long, leave your captions in the comment section down below, and I will try to make less of a hash of reading them out this time next week. Ahead of letting you know what we've got coming up on GCN this week, we will go through a few comments from last week, starting with this one from last week's show, R Plum. I always try to imagine road interactions as if I were in a supermarket. You wouldn't dream of shouting and gesturing at someone who was moving slowly or blocking the way in the aisles or in front of you at the checkout, would you?
No.
Goes through my mind sometimes. I never actually say anything.
No, and that is actually a really good point, isn't it? Because it's a little bit like social media in that people do a lot of shouting at each other on social media in a way that you would never do in public. And actually, I do think that is part of the problem, isn't it? Because cars are so hermetically sealed now, so isolated from the world around you, that it's easy to get a bit shouty. But then as cyclists, we can't. I suppose we're shouting at someone that's cocooned in a metal box. So maybe
it's
that's
a very
why.
good point, isn't it? Because it does go through. You know when there's two people looking at stuff on either side of the aisle, and they look at you waiting to get past, and just carry on looking at stuff on either side of the aisle. That does frustrate me, but I just stand there waiting for somebody to move.
Excuse me. Can I reach the sausages?
Always happens in the pound shop.
Right. Anyway, also under last week's GCN show, Ranger Smith, Ollie is the most aerodynamically efficient presenter on GCN. I think Dan's got words to say.
Take offence at that.
Yeah. You've been rocking the Hero style for
far
while,
too long, yes. From the moment it came into fashion to about 4 years when it went out of fashion. I'm just waiting for it to come back in any moment now.
You're normally quite quick to change your hairstyles.
Yeah, but you'll find out, Si, that when you turn 40, especially when your older son that's quite stylish moves to university and doesn't give you any more tips.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you quickly become old-fashioned.
Well, yeah, because I've been changing my hairstyle regularly for decades.
Yes. Anyway, under which bike is fastest for Strade Bianche, Robert Passion said, it's hilarious how Manon was just able to rest her elbows on the saddle and Connor's towering legs are the same height. Exactly how tall is Connor?
He's over 2 meters, isn't he?
Yeah, 6'7"-ish, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a tall dude, a very tall dude.
Laggy Pirates, meanwhile, put, what a monumentally cool race.
That'll make you pleased, won't it? It's not the 6th monument, though, is it? It's an absolute banger of a race.
No,
but it's not the 6th monument.
Contrary to what I may have conveyed in recent years and recent videos, I genuinely, firstly, don't care if it's a monument, and secondly, I actually don't really think it should be. But I would like to say that I've come top 10 in a monument. I'm sure it would retrospectively make it seem like I had.
Yeah, I could see why that might be quite cool. Yeah, then you carry on campaigning, mate.
Right, moving on. Underneath Berlin Uncovered, William Murray wrote, I'll never get over seeing Berlin like this. I was stationed in Germany in 1988 and was there when the wall came down.
Wow.
Chipped my own piece off the wall when we went on November the 16th. Thanks for showing us around.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Very cool, yeah.
Wow, yeah. It's funny as well, when you do go to Berlin, you realise that history is still so recent, even if it's not for some of you watching. But, someone of Dan's age, it really is. Alexander Koch, meanwhile, said, what's this out? Berlin has a population of around 4 million people. My city is slightly above 100,000 residents. So unless their average group size is 40, my one-person group ride is bigger per 1,000 people. So, you can't fault your maths, can you?
No. That's exactly the type of comment that I would write. I love that sort of thing. All right, what have we got coming up for you on GCN Plus? Well, tomorrow, if you are watching this on Tuesday when it comes out, we're going to let you know how not to get a sore bum while cycling. And don't worry, I don't think it involves putting a pair of shorts inside out over your saddle on an indoor trainer, but you never know.
Or the presenter riding naked. So I'm not sure who's presented
on top
that
of
one.
said shorts. And then Thursday, we're going to be giving you our tips on how to safely ride within a city. And then Friday, living with a cargo bike.
Yeah, that's one of mine.
Yeah.
As many of you, few of you might know, I bought a cargo bike last year after we did some videos, and 1 year on, I thought I would make a video about what I've learned, basically. So there you go. That's one to look forward to. Put a date in your diaries for it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, please do, Dan. On Saturday, Hank is back in Berlin, not literally, but we've got a video from Berlin, a checkpoint challenge between Hank and Alec Briggs. So that is cool, one to check out. And then on Sunday, Connor and Manon on their little Italian trip last week, they tried to, I don't quite know how to describe this. It's the 7,000 calorie challenge, right? So when Connor raced Milan San Remo, he consumed 7,000 calories.
Consumed or burned?
Consumed.
Did he?
During the race. Yeah, that was what he tried to get down him. So he tried to replicate what he consumed during Milan San Remo, but in the last 100 kilometres to see whether or not he was still
in a restaurant. I thought it was going to be a video of Connor in a restaurant trying to consume the same number of calories he had during San Remo.
Could Connor ride a third of the distance of Milan San Remo while still consuming the same amount? So that does sound like the kind of ride that I could get into.
Yeah,
especially in Italy.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to consume calories over there, isn't it?
I suspect so.
Just before we finish, a plug for the world of cycling out tomorrow on GCN Plus, because we've got two special guests, both currently commentating on Paris-Nice on GCN Plus, Rob Hatch and the great King Sean Kelly.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll be discussing whether or not the biggest name riders within cycling spend too much racing in different races and not enough time racing together. Reason for that is we've got Pogacar and Vingegaard already battling it out in March on the roads of Paris-Nice.
So good. So good for the sport. And don't forget as well, on GCN Plus, in addition to the world of cycling and Paris-Nice and Tirreno Adriatico, we of course have a new documentary for you this week.
What makes bike packing so special? For me, it's incredible. Travelling light on your bike, exploring wild and wonderful terrains, connecting with nature. But But where do you start with bike packing, and how can you go from being a complete novice to somebody that not only understands it but craves it? I've chosen Spain's Garrafi Desert for Duncan's first ever bike packing adventure. A 3-day ride into the wilderness.
It's a tough one there.
I'll show him how to bike pack and set him challenges along the way.
How are you riding this stuff?
We're definitely throwing him in the deep end.
Doesn't look like there's that much for two.
Can I turn this total newbie into a hardened bike packer? You'll come into this trip like a boy and leave like a mountain man.
I think at the very least I'm going to know whether I'll ever bike pack again. That remains to be seen. Put me out of my misery. I guess we're going to find out in 3 days.